Hello and welcome back to The Vacant Light. Today I'm back with another video review. This album here is Thrash or Die's debut album called Poser Holocaust. If you're not familiar with Thrash or Die, they are an independent thrash metal band from the south of Florida, and I've personally found out about Thrash or Die through their vocalist, whose name is Ralph, but goes by the title Dr. Fuck in this band. And he does a lot of reviews on Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne material on YouTube. So make sure you guys have a link to that video channel there. I am a big fan of his reviews, and that is how I figured out that he was in a band and had released a debut album. This album is from 2011. It's just over a year old now, and I only really heard about it more recently than that, so this is fairly new to me still. So if you're not familiar with this band, they're a thrash metal band that has some pretty aggressive stuff, and they use sort of a humorous spin on music to make things quite interesting. Vocally speaking, you'll notice at first that the vocals are quite high-pitched and very aggressive. Definitely not what I would have personally expected from a thrash metal band. At first, I was unsure of whether I was going to get into the vocal style or not, but I felt that on subsequent listens, it became more and more appealing. In particular, the vocalist uses some very aggressive, high-pitched sort of yells and shrieks, but not to a very grating or very distorted extent. I also felt like the vocal style fit in very well with the lyrics, and I felt that at pretty much all times on the record, the lyrics were audible and added quite a lot to the music. I'm not really a big lyrics person, but when I think that lyrics are good and enjoyable, I feel that they do add something to the music, and that is definitely the case on this record. There's a good amount of humor, especially in the lyrics, and you can even tell, from looking at the cover of the album and the track titles like Zombie Assault, The Return of the Thrash Lord, and things like No Posers Allowed, you can tell that, the band isn't taking themselves too seriously and has a very tongue-in-cheek attitude towards music. And that carries through the entire album and does so very well. You'll also notice that with the vocals, there were a few different variations thrown in, like more of a gang punk kind of style on certain tracks, and the vocalist also knows how to add a lot of intensity to the music, knows where to go very aggressive and high-pitched, compared to other moments where the music is more laid back to some extent, and the vocals aren't quite as in your face in those parts of the music. So overall, even though I thought the vocals were unusual at first, they really grew on me, and I really, really enjoy them in combination with the lyrical abilities of this band. Now moving on to the guitar work, you'll definitely hear that there's two guitar players on the album with no doubt whatsoever in my mind. At certain points, the music focuses more on rhythm-oriented, not quite as aggressive, groove-oriented music. In those instances, I felt that both players were sort of mirroring each other to add a nice thick and rich layer to the music. And that whole layering really makes it sound very full and complete, for me anyway. At other moments, you'll hear that the rhythm will continue while the lead guitar player will do more shredding or more aggressive playing styles. Also, there's a lot of soloing on this record, which works quite well because the musicians can keep the song going while the lead guitar player is sort of doing a solo there. Overall, I thought the riffs were generally well constructed. They do range from more groove-oriented and to more noisy kind of things. I felt that, though, on one or two occasions, I felt that the music was just noisy for the sake of being noisy, but it didn't really cause a major problem because those moments were few and far between. Moving on to the bass playing, I really feel that the bass player is very well featured on the record. You can definitely hear the bass playing at pretty much every point in time when he's actually involved in the music. In addition to that, I really enjoyed the tone of the bass. I felt that there was a nice mixture between sort of the metallic sound to it and more of a growly tone. The bass playing definitely isn't warm at all. You'll notice that it is very aggressive, very metallic, and you can hear the very tactile appeal of the bass playing. And I really do love it when bands, mix instruments at reasonably equal levels, which I felt was the case on this record. And last but not least, we have the drumming. The drumming, I felt, did a very good job of keeping the pace on the record. Overall, the drumming was sort of mid to fast paced and kept the tempo going. There were a few moments, such as on the Return of the Thrash Lord, where the music slows down to add some other emphasis, and the drummer was able to cope with that and slow things down a little bit. In addition, there's quite a good amount of fills and more intricate parts thrown into the more straightforward and aggressive thrash metal drumming style. So all things considered, this album is quite enjoyable. In particular, I felt that the lyrics were very important to the music. There's a certain introspective element to the music as well in terms of the lyrical abilities, where the vocalist Ralph, he does talk about things introspectively, like talking about thrash metal and certain topics of that nature. But at the same time, despite being very reflective in that nature, I really felt that he did a good job of adding a humorous or non-serious part to the music, especially on tracks like, The Return of the Thrash Lord, Wake Up and Smell the Thrash, Mosh Pit Messiah. And for me as well, there's really not a bad track on here. If anything, I wish that the vocals were included for a larger portion of the music, because I really felt that when the instrumentation was well put together and the vocals came in, that's when the album was really at its peak. So overall, no real gripes with the album. I'm not traditionally a huge fan of thrash metal, not because I don't like it, but I'm just not super familiar with it. But this album makes me feel very curious, and I'm now inspired to listen to more of this type of music and explore it a bit more. So with that said, do check this band out. They are very independent, and this is so far their only full-length album. I would recommend checking this out if you're a fan of straightforward, aggressive music, like humor in your music, or a hardcore thrash metal fan. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and have a good one.